What is going on, everybody? It's your pastor, Brother TJ. I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I do have a story to tell about this day. If you got a few seconds, we'll get some people time to hop on, and then I just need about 20 minutes of your time. I won't take long. I just want to encourage somebody today who feels hopeless. Encourage somebody today that feels like they're too far gone. Encourage you today on behalf of your family members that may be going through a tough season. I just want to be an encouragement today. Plus, I want to give God glory for what He's done in my life. I want to make sure I recognize Him on this day. Listen, I could sit and talk for hours about all I've seen God do, but this is a specific testimony for this specific day. And we're going to talk about that real quick. I just need about 15, 20 minutes if you got time to join me. I just want to share how everything can change in a few days. And I mean everything. Whenever you don't even expect it, everything can change in a few days. So if you got some time, what's up, Tyler? Good to see you. If you pop on, comment so it gets in the algorithm. Please comment, please share, please repost. This is an encouragement. There's a lot of people with loved ones in the prison system. There's a lot of people with loved ones in addiction. Maybe that's you, and it's really easy to get weary and give up on them. So if you're on here, comment where you're from, who you are, so I can see you, and then share the video. I'm going to give some people time to hop on, and we're going to dive right in. What's up, Linda? Good to see you. I got a great testimony for today. Like I said, I don't know how much time I have, but I'm at an appointment. I'm sitting outside. I know I've got a few minutes, about 15, 20 minutes, and I wanted to share with y'all. What's up, Missy? Good to see you. What's up, Tyler? Good to see you. Please share onto your wall. I think this will help somebody. It'll help parents who have kids in prison or loved ones in prison or in addiction. I think it'll help a lot of people who are struggling or still in the struggle to know that there is life after the struggle. So I want to share all of that today just real quick. Give people time to hop on. Please comment when you get on. Please post. Please reshare. Hey, Heidi, good to see you. Please repost. Tell me where y'all tuning in from, man. Let's build up. Let's comment. Let's hit this algorithm, man. The more we get involved, the more active it'll get and more people will see it. So if you got time to do that, I would be grateful. I'm not going to keep you long, but I got a powerful word that I want to give you today. Time allowing, time affording me that. I think it's a very good word to encourage people, and I think it'll encourage you as well. We're just going to go ahead and go, man. There ain't many people on here. I know it's 11 a.m. It's kind of an odd hour to go live, but I at least wanted to give y'all a little bit of my time today because I'm looking at the rest of my day and don't know if I'll have time then. Listen, there was a time in my life on this day I was sitting in a hopeless situation. There was time in my life on this day that I thought I was stuck. I was messed up for the rest of my life. I didn't know what the outcome would be. But in my eyes and in my mind, according to this day, long ago, I didn't see no hope in sight. I was hopeless. I was helpless. I couldn't change my conditions. I couldn't change my environment. I couldn't change my circumstances. You know, I had lived a wrong life for many years, and I was paying the consequences of those choices. And on this day, some long ago, I was sitting in a prison cell. My bunkmate's name was Joseph Brown. I remember, I ain't seen him since, but I remember him. And I'm in a two-man cell in Jackson State Penitentiary thinking, I don't know what my life's going to become. But I'm really feeling like this is what my life has become. And so knowing that I had 9 more months on this charge, I had more charges in another county, I knew that I was up and in for a ride as I sat in that prison cell. I'm sitting in that prison cell, and, you know, in prison we do backups. We work out off of our bunk and do whatever you can to stay active. It's only, you know, a 6 by 9, I think it is, and it's a small area. Confinement. I mean, if you don't want to get in confinement, don't do stupid things, right? That was my consequences. I understood that. But as I was sitting in that prison cell, I had no idea what was about to happen. Now, I was prepared for the long haul. I knew that I had to do this time. I knew that I had to face my consequences. I knew I had to pay this price. I made these choices. I can't blame the snitch who snitched on me. I can't blame anybody else. I can't blame the police. I had to take responsibility. This was part of my accountability right here, sitting in this prison cell, April 21st, 2006. And then about 3 hours from now, I'll say about 2:30, no, it's about 3:30. They call, the guard comes by and he calls my name, and I know for sure that they're taking me to court in another county. I know for sure they're going to transport me back to face some charges in another county. And so I packed my bag real quick, tell my bunkmate deuces, holla at you, and I prepared to go to the next county to go to court. Here's what's crazy. I get to the boot room waiting on transport, or so I thought, and he says, "Who do you want to call?" I said, "What do you mean?" I ain't know they'll let me call nobody. I mean, why am I going to call somebody? And he said, "Well, who's going to come pick you up?" I said, "Ain't nobody going to come pick me up. I can't go home." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Sir, I got sentenced to this. I've got 9 more months on this one charge. I've got more charges in another county. I've not faced those charges yet. I thought I was being shipped to that county to face those charges and then come back." He said, "No, sir." See, I'd already been to prison once, and I got sent to prison as a first offender. I never seen nobody in prison on first offender status. I thought I was going to skate. I thought I was going to plead first offender, stay home, and make my mess, right? METH, make my mess, and continue to sell my mess and live in that mess. And they said, "Unfortunately, TJ, we accept your plea, but your reputation outweighs your record." So my first prison trip, I went to prison as a first offender, and then I messed it up when I came home. Now I'm back in prison again, and I'm sitting in prison not knowing what was happening, but they telling me I can go home today, and I'm thinking, ain't no way, y'all got to be messed up. There's no way. And he said, "Well, sir, all I got to tell you is, if you can have somebody here in the next hour and 20 minutes, and I'm all the way down in Jackson State Penitentiary," he said, "you're going to go to the house. If not, you can call somebody tomorrow, but you're going home." I was shocked. I was blown away. Understand, I went from at 11 a.m. thinking I ain't getting out. I've got another year on this. I've got to do other charges on that. There ain't no way I'm coming home. But everything can change in a few days. See, I didn't know that God was working behind the scenes to get me to this point, to get me to this place, to be who He wanted me to be. I had to face those things, the weight of my actions. It makes me relatable today. It makes me understandable today. It makes me be able to be more compassionate to a broken people today. I had no idea that everything was going to change in a couple of hours. I had no idea that everything was going to change in a couple of days. I went live a couple of days ago and told you everything can change in a few days, but you got to get there to see it come to pass. You got to get to that point to allow the change to take place. God's working, but you got to give it time to cook. Give it time to work its way out. Give it time for God to put things in place the way that He wants them. So I called my brother-in-law, who was Dewey, who's our worship minister, and not at that time though, right? None of us was in church. And April 21st, 2006, I come home early, way early, dumb early, didn't make no sense early. And I'm thinking that they trying to set me up, because see, now that I can come home, I got 5 years parole or probation, and I got these other charges. So when I go to court in this county, they're going to find me guilty on those charges, and then they can violate the probation they just give me, which is going to make me do more time. I think that I'm being set up by the police. And the truth is I was being set up by God. I thought I was being set up by the police for bad things, but I was being set up by God for blessed things. So I come home. April's a big month for me. You know, Sunday was 16 years I've been a pastor. I've been preaching for 20 years. In June, I'll be preaching for 20 years, sharing my story and doing this. April's been a big month throughout my whole life. But April 21st, 2006, I came home from prison, and I remember pulling down in the driveway, seeing my girlfriend, who was scared to death, because she swore that I was going to come home and go back to doing the same old things the same old way. The mean, hateful, angry, addicted, just ugly outlook, a mean-spirited man. I always thought I was a good man, but looking back, I was a miserable man. I was a hateful man. I was a rage-fueled man. I was crying out and didn't know it. My addiction had me gone. April 21st, 2006, I came home and I seen her and my mom and them in the yard, and we pulled out in the yard, and I'm thinking, they're setting me up. Didn't know God was setting me up for good, and I thought they were setting me up for jail and prison and more. But I got in church, man. 2 days after coming home, I went to church for the first time just to see my kids, because I was told I would never see them again. When I went to church 2 days later, guess what? I went for one reason, but God. But God had another reason. I remember invitation comes. I couldn't tell you what the preacher preached on, but I walked down to the side of a cross at an altar, and I told that pastor, I said, "Pastor, I need to dedicate my life to the Lord." He said, you mean rededicate? I said, no, sir. I said, when I went to prison this last time, I swallowed right at 7 grams of meth, M-E-T-H. And I should have died. I was sick as a dog for 3 days, laying on a concrete floor on a mat, and I didn't think I was going to live. And I said, I know they say don't make deals with God, but I cried out to a God that I didn't know, and that God knew me. And I said, God, if I live through this, I owe you my life. I said, so it's only by God that I stand here today, preacher. There's no other options in it, no other explanation for it. I ain't even supposed to be home, but God. I ain't right. I said, I need to dedicate my life to God. Whatever that looks like, I don't know, but I owe him the rest of my life, and I want to give it to him. I didn't know what following Christ looked like. I didn't know Christ followers. I didn't know the church. All I knew was the judgmental, hypocritical, better than thou church, right? The legalistic church. I didn't know what it was going to look like, but I know that God saw me through, brought me home from prison early, brought me home from eating that 7 grams of dope, brought me hope, right? I don't know what words I'm supposed to say. That 7 grams of mess, M-E-T-H, right? And I should have died. I could have not been home. I should have stayed in prison, but here I am home early, and 2 days after coming home, today, 20 years ago. And I've been sharing hope for 20 years. I found out later on that church I went to for one reason, just to see my kids, that church had been praying. They said, if we're going to be a church, we're going to pray for the worst of the worst. We want to see God move. If we're going to be a church, we want to see God save the unsavables, reach the unreachables. And they took up a vote on the worst people in the county, the worst people they knew. And I topped out. Yeah, I topped out. I was top on the list. I was that unliked, and I was a menace to society. But that church, instead of condemning me, began to pray for me a year and a half before I got there. So when I walk into that church on April the 23rd, 2006, I felt like the air got sucked out of the room, and I'm being judged because here I am. I got my gang tattoos, right? And that's okay. I don't cover them up because that's BC and AC, before Christ and after Christ. I like to show the difference. I walk in, I got my shirt, my sleeveless shirt on. I got, I'm known to gang banging, thugging, drug dealing. That's who I was, and everybody knew it. And I'm thinking they're all looking at me, judging me. What's up, Tommy Chopper? Love you, Pastor. But they wasn't. When I walked in, they seen prayers being answered that they never thought would happen. I didn't even know that. Right? I'm 2 days out of prison. I'm fresh on the block. I came just to see my kids. Here I am at an altar that I didn't even want to walk to, but I felt like there was a fishing line put through out of heaven, hooked in my heart, and he reeled me right up to the altar. And all I knew was I had to dedicate my life to the Lord. Why? Because I didn't deserve to be here. I didn't earn it. I couldn't be here without him. I don't even know what it looks like to follow him. I don't know what it looks like to live for him, but I knew this. I'm going to find out. Why? Because living the other lifestyle, right? The dirt lifestyle, the thugging, that lifestyle wasn't paying off. 2 trips to prison, 14 times locked up. And I knew this, one more time, TJ, and they're going to stuff you somewhere and you ain't going to see the light of day for a long time. Everybody else, they were still, all my circle, all my people, everybody I knew was still, right, doing their thing. They were still oomped up. They were still powdered out. They were still gone, right? They were still on that mess, M-E-T-H. And here I am at church. Because I had to do what was best for me. I couldn't let my friends stop me. I couldn't let my family stop me. I couldn't let my crowd stop me. I couldn't let my crew stop me. I couldn't let my hood stop me. I had to make a decision for me. Why? Because they wasn't with me when I swallowed that 7 grams and I should have died and I was sick as a dog. Didn't think I was going to get up. And that night when I cried out to a God that I didn't know, but he knew me. He saw me through that sickness. He carried me through, brought me home from prison way early, and I didn't know it, and I'm all lost, but I knew this, that he got my attention. And so I cried out to Jesus that day on April the 23rd, 2006, 2 days out of prison. Everything can change in a few days. See, at this time, 20 years ago, sitting in that prison cell, I'm looking at 9 more months on this charge, looking at getting transported on that charge, looking at the time they're going to give me on that charge. Didn't know what it would look like. No hope in sight. No future. Stuck like a duck that can't cluck, right? That was pretty good. I don't know who said it. I did. I said it. But I was stuck. And there was no hope. I had no future. And everything changed in a few days, right? I just come to tell somebody today, I stand here today having been preaching the gospel. I came home in April 21st, 2006. April, May, June, July. July, I began to go back into prisons. 3 months out of prison, I began to go back in. Understand, the warden said, there's no way he's coming in my prison. You got to be off paper for 5 years clean, no charges. Ain't no way. And the pastor said, look, if you want these prisoners to find hope, if you want these inmates to find Jesus, then they need somebody in here they can relate to. They don't want to hear from people with an Argyle suit with leather patches on their elbows that can't understand and relate where they've been to. Can't. And that warden gave me leeway. I've been in that prison now for 20 years. 20 years. Still going in the same prison. I was there Saturday night. Had 3 saved. Been going back to that same prison. We probably baptized over 1,000 people. At least we baptized 200 in the last 2.5 years. It's been an amazing ride. So I come to encourage you today. If you got loved ones in prison or loved ones in addiction, don't lose hope. If everything can change to me, I was the most unlikely. I was voted most likely to what? To not change, right? Everybody knew who I was. I was banned from some places in society. I'm in Noonan, Georgia right now. I was told by many establishments, we don't want your Cadillac or your presence on our property because you are a threat to society. Because wherever I showed up, violence showed up. Wherever I showed up, mess, M-E-T-H, showed up, and everything that came along with it. I was a walking billboard for my lifestyle. I wasn't ashamed of it. I didn't hide it. I didn't deny it. I had a suit that said, I am on it, and I wore it right. I was proud of who I was. I was never ashamed of it. But now here I am making a decision for Christ, and reality set in. Here's what I said. TJ, you live for your hood out loud. You did it publicly. You wasn't ashamed of it. You better rep this way. So I don't know about y'all, but I never liked fake people. Fake claiming, false claiming, fake. I didn't like false, right? I didn't like fake. And here I am. I said, if you're going to do this, you better be the real deal. Why? Because if there's any hope for your people, they got to see it in you. God was preparing me in prison, man. I had no idea. But I did find that as young cats began to come into prison, I would be telling them, man, you got to leave that dope alone. There ain't no future on it. There ain't no life in it, right? It's going to ruin you. It's going to be the death of you. I try to tell them and I found out, looking back, I was doing ministry before I ever knew what ministry was. But when I made that profession of faith, I said, TJ, if you're going to live it, you better live it out loud. So I just come to say this. Today, April 21st, 2026, I've been home for 20 years, unexpectedly. Early, out of the blue. God rocked my world. He showed up when I didn't deserve it. He showed up in a place I didn't find Jesus in a prison cell. He found me. And he'll find you right where you're at. In addiction, in prison, in cancer, in sickness, in bankruptcy, whatever it is, in lust, in porn. He'll meet you right in your broken place. And everything can change in just a couple days. You got to give God time to work. I had no idea. Listen, but here's what I did know. God has been good to me. I'm not going to blow it. God has done something in me. I'm not going to throw it away. Because I know this. God can bless you, but you can throw away a blessing. You can make a mess out of it. Right? So God was good to me. Today's 20 years. I've been sober over 20 years from all mind-altering substances. From liquid bottles, bags, everything. None of it. When I lived through that 6.3 grams of mess, M-E-T-H, that I ate and thought I was going to die off of. When I lived through that, I've never touched another single substance again because I know that I can't tinker, I can't play with none of that. Why? Because I'm not a do a little bit kind of guy. I've never social drank because I ain't going to social drink. I'm going to get socially drunk and I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to do something stupid. My mind's going to be polluted. My eyes are going my thinking's going to be diluted and I'm going to do something stupid. So in my life today, I want to give you hope. It's been 20 years. Most of y'all on social media know Pastor TJ. But 20 years ago and before, I was methamphetamine TJ. I said mess. Don't flag me, Facebook. I was a mess. I was a mess of a man with no hope, a bad past, a bad rap sheet, a bad record, a bad reputation, who had no future, who had nothing in sight, had no life worth living. I was stuck in a situation I couldn't change, but God. I had people praying for me I didn't even know. And then God sent me right into that church. Think about it now. I walked into that church April 23rd, 2006. I had a lady come up, because when you make a profession of faith, sometimes they say come up and welcome them to the family of God, welcome them to the church. I had a lady come up and look me in my eye. You know what she said? She said, TJ, I've been praying for you a long time. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. She said, no, hold up. You don't understand. I've been praying that God kill you or keep you in prison for the rest of your life so that you did not harm my children, hurt my children, or this community anymore. I was blown away that I was that kind of man. A couple years later, matter of fact, later that same year, the first study Bible I ever owned, all I had was a prison Bible. The first study Bible I ever owned came from that lady. I still got it put up at home today. About 3 years after that, when that lady got ready to leave this earth with her and win her battle against cancer and go on home to heaven, as we walked into her hospital room, she was talking all the way up to her very last breath. She told the nurse, she said, that's my son Eddie, talking about her birth son. And she said, and that's my other son, TJ. Listen to me, everything can change in a few days. I come to give you hope today. I come to encourage you today that if God can do what's been done in my life, that, listen, I've been sober over 20 years, been out of prison over 20 years, and listen, the enemy still attacks, the devil still throws darts, people still like to talk, people still run their mouth. I ain't done no doping so long that it's crazy. I can remember what it's like, but I can't believe it's been 20 years. But people still love to run their mouth and chatter and talk. 20 years. Trust me. You ever seen the meme says, if I won $1 million, I wouldn't say nothing, but there'd be signs. If I was the old TJ, I wouldn't say nothing, but there would be some signs. I still wouldn't be pastoring the church. I wouldn't be evangelizing. I wouldn't be going city to city sharing Christ. I wouldn't be on here sharing Christ. No, I would be tweaked up, geeked up, peaked up right here live. I wouldn't. That's just how I am. And because I'm still doing what I'm doing, you know that I'm on the right path. I'm on the right track. I ain't playing no games with God. 20 years later, still on fire. Still love Jesus, still going in prisons, still helping those in addiction, because I know that there's hope for the hopeless. There's life after incarceration. There's hope after a mess. There's hope when you've done made a whole mess out of life and you don't know what to do. There is a life after that if you would surrender and say, here it is, God, I'm dedicating my life to you. There's a word that changes everything. Some people want to be saved, but some people surrender. I surrendered that day my life to Christ. I had no idea that I would be a pastor. Hey, check it out. I went to that church for the wrong reasons, which was a good reason, to see my kids. I got saved in that church, ended up teaching Sunday school in that church, ended up becoming the men's ministry leader, men's minister in 2008. I was licensed to preach the gospel 2 years after I came home, right? I kept on. I was the Sunday school director. I was the minister of education in that church. And then before long, I became the associate pastor in that church. God had a plan, and here I was sitting in a prison cell. Didn't know that there was a plan ahead of me. Didn't know that there was a purpose ahead of me. Didn't know that. And I've been at my church now that I'm at. I've been senior pastor now, almost completing 11 years. It's been 10 years and 6 months. And I'm just here to tell you that God ain't done with you yet. God is not done with you yet. So today, this day, I came home from prison 20 years ago. And the Lord has rocked my world. I've seen a lot of miracles, and I see a lot of mess. I see God show up in a lot of places, and I've seen the enemy tear down a lot of people. I've faced a lot of turmoil, heartache, and grief, and I still get talked about. But I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm going to keep on preaching the gospel. I'm going to keep on sharing Jesus. I'm going to keep on giving him away. You know why? Because if he was the answer for this old messed up boy, if he was the answer for the least of these, if he was the answer for the one that was the worst of the worst, and I know, listen, I know me. Y'all know the good TJ. I know the depths of my dark heart and the things that I've done and where I've been. I know me. I know the mess that I'm in. I know the pain that I inflicted. I know the doors that I kicked in late at night and took stuff. I know me. Jesus loved me. And when I was hopeless, stuck in a prison cell, he opened my door and said, come home. And I thought I was being set up for bad by the police. I was being set up to be blessed by God. My challenge for you today is this. Don't just be saved. Surrender your life to him. Surrender your life to him. And watch what God will do. I've been pastoring a long time now. It gets heavy at times. It's hard at times. But I love people and I love God. And I want to lead people to love God. So today, I just want you to know that you're loved. You're deeply cherished. And just because you feel stuck in your situation, don't mean God ain't working something out. Because remember, everything can change in just a few days. It don't have to stay the same. I got a man watching this, Jimmy Evans. I remember When I got baptized in his lake later that year, man, I thought I was going to get struck by lightning. I think I was the 27th or 29th baptism of the day. I was the last baptism, saved the worst for last, right? And it was all sunny and bright and blue lake. We done dyed the lake blue. It was a beautiful day. And I got in to get baptized and the thunder shook. And I was like, man, I'm going to get struck by lightning. I believe without a doubt that was the power of God, because he wanted me to be like the sons of thunder, right? Like James, that's my middle name. Go out and share the word and don't be ashamed of it. Listen, I love you. You might be hopeless now, but everything can change in a few days. It might be hard now. You may be stuck in a prison cell, your prison of your mental prison, an emotional prison, a depression prison, an addiction prison, but everything can change in a few days. God is still working. God is still able. God still can. Ain't nobody too far gone that they can't be saved. I am living proof. You can ask around, everybody will tell you that they still know who I used to be, right? I know that guy. And I ain't got nothing to boast of. I count all that as lost. It was nothing. But you know what it was? Training. Because everything that the devil taught me living that life, I'm going to use it to rattle the gates of hell. I'm going to use it to stand at the gates of hell and turn people back and say, you don't want to live this life. You don't want to go that way. You don't want to go to this place. You don't want to end up like this. I'm going to use everything that the enemy gave me in my evil way of living as tools to defeat him and to bring people away from him. And you, through all your trials and tests and troubles, you have been trained to help people going through the same stuff that you have been through. So don't you give up. Don't you lose hope. Oh, let me share this real quick. Jimmy Evans, Pastor Jimmy, I'm forever grateful, because I kind of am who I am, and it's partly his fault. Not really. It's God. God gives credit. Jimmy Evans, thank you, Jimmy, gave me the opportunity to come to his church. And Carly! I think my daughter's looking for me. Look, guys, and I went over there to preach. He said, give me a second. 1 second. Hey! I'm coming! Jimmy Evans offered me a chance to come to his church and preach or to share my story. I said, how long I got? He said, 15 minutes. He let me share for the whole hour. And my life's never been the same. I love y'all. I got to go. My daughter's at the door standing waiting on me. I love y'all. God bless you. Everything can change in a few days. Call on Jesus.